y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope and welcome. I'm about to work on my week 51 mixed media prompt project for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. Now y'all, that is a challenge I started October 2022 in which I took an entire deck of playing cards and a list of prompts and started altering those playing cards using those prompts to create prompt cards. So this is my week 51 prompt card. I made this Monday and I used the prompts wire, tape removal, and distress oxide. In that video I kind of explain what those prompts are and some ways to interpret them. You can watch that. You'll see how I do it here. And you're welcome to play along. So I know I'm on week 51. I will likely have 52 prompts. I mean 52 cards. I might do more. I'm still toying with that. We'll see where this goes. But I made a list of 156 prompts. Every week I'm pulling 3 prompts and using them to create my prompt card so that I will have a prompt deck. So that I don't get stuck in the rut of just using those prompts on cards in this order of prompts. I've also been doing some projects that explore those prompts a little bit more, give me time to marinate on them. And it's been different things. It's been art journal pages and junk journal pages and tags and jewelry and bookmarks and assemblage projects and all kinds of things. I have full playlists. You'll find that at the end. And there you can see some of the different things I've done. I've also thrown in a couple videos of people who played along on these prompts with these prompts. So you can play along as well, use the same prompts I use, or you can get that prompt list. I've got a link to a Google Drive that you can open up and print out and cut out those prompts and use them however you want. I do ask that you use the hashtag CraftyHopePrompts and tag me if you share something you make inspired by them, because that way I just kind of want to see how you're inspired and yeah, support you on this journey as well. So this week, y'all, I have been, I don't know, for a while kind of trying to figure out wire, tape removal, and distress oxide and how I can combine those 3 things into a single project. I think wire is where I get held up. I put that in there because it's one of those things I have lots of. I've got it hanging around. You can use it for all kinds of things, but it combined with these other 2 techniques has really got me in a tizzy. So I played around with quite a few things and have come up with something. This shouldn't be a real long video. So I am going to walk you through making like a little charm basically, but you can use that in your junk journal, on one of your pages, on the binding of a book. You could possibly use it in jewelry. I think of it more as a decorative element to add to something. You can throw it in a happy mail or on the side of a gift. You could use it as a tag for a gift even. So we're gonna get to it. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to talk through it or just go for it. Let me tell you what I've got. For wire, I had pulled out several different kinds. These are like ones I've used for jewelry, but they're cheaper ones I don't use for jewelry anymore. And then I have this, y'all. This is a heavy gauge wire. It's from the floral section at the Dollar Tree. So the dog is gonna bark because the trash pickup is here and she freaks out. So I'll come back in just a second. We'll see how long she stops. That took a minute. For tape removal, I have pulled out some packing tape. This is Scotch shipping packaging tape. Sure Start. It's what I have. But you could try this with whatever you have. You kind of want something kind of sturdy. And then, I also have some just phrases I've typed up on my typewriter on, this is part of an old book page. I just like the kind of yellowed surface of it. But you could print out something. I have tried this kind of with just some phrase printed on copy paper. So it works there as well. And then distress oxides, I'm going to use the pads for the most part. I think probably just the walnut stain, but you know, you could use whatever you wanted. If you had some other kind of pad, I could even use the spray. But this is a super simple thing that needs some some other tools and supplies, but I will talk you through that. So I'm going to go ahead and get to it, and this will be voiced over because I know she's going to bark again because they're going to come back down our street in a second. Let me get to it. I am starting with that heavy gauge wire. I'm pulling out a good little length of it, whatever I think about the circumference of the tag that I'm going to make is. So that was probably 4 or 5 inches. And I'm using a hard circle surface, nothing that I can squeeze. A glue stick works. But like I said, things like bottles that squeeze aren't great. I'm using this Liquitex Gold ink bottle because it's sitting there, it's glass, it's perfect. And I'm wrapping my wire around it, making sure I make a complete circle. And then I've got some heavy gauge wire cutters that I am trimming off the excess. I'm butting it up against where one end of the circle ends and that excess is, and just trimming off the excess and making sure those ends match up. Easy peasy. Now I'm pulling out a little hammer and a bench block. These are some of my jewelry tools, but if you had just a regular hammer and just a hard surface, that's all you really need. I am hammering both sides of this wire flat because I want my tape to stick to it. If it's rounded, it's not going to have as much surface area to stick to. So it also, hammering like that is called work hardening wire, which means that your wire will keep its shape a little bit better. So it kind of hardens it. So I'm going to put my ring aside for a second and pull out. I'm going to cut down, and y'all, I really wish I had done a better job, not cut my little phrase so tight. I don't know, so close to the edges, but that's fine. I've got a little piece of the tape that will cover up my word, and then I'm going to burnish over my phrase. Again, I typed this on my vintage typewriter, but you could use a phrase you find in a book or something you print out or anything like that to try this process. And I am pulling up that phrase off of there. Now, some of the paper does stick. That top layer of paper will stick. This, doesn't work great for just this phrase as a image transfer, but it works for this. So you can see I put down some of that walnut stain distress oxide on my nonstick craft sheet and sprayed it, and now I am picking up some of it with the paper, basically the paper that's still on there. I'm kind of coloring it, I'm gonna rub it on there. I'm gonna take a second and kind of rub the edges. Like I said, I wasn't happy with how close I got all of that, so I was trying to rub some of the edges off, but it's okay. I'm gonna cut it down in just a little bit. Now, this is not the most effective use of the tape removal technique, I will admit that, but like all of my prompts, the prompts are just meant to inspire you. So if it's not the exact technique or the exact product, it's okay. It's the prompt that you're concerned about, not the actual product. Now, I decided I wanted something else on there to try, one of the sprays. So that's, I believe it's Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide Spray. And it probably went a little far because it totally soaked in to that. And the words get a little hard to read on this. But I think that makes you just look a little bit closer at the tag that we're going to make. All right, so now I am cutting down my bit of tape here. And I am going to, you can see there it is. There's my circle. I'm going to pull off another piece of tape here, something that is a bit bigger than or longer than my circle. And I'm going to put my circle right on that tape and press it in so that it is sticking. And then I'm going to put my little phrase in the middle. It takes me a second to get it there in the middle of that tape. And so everything is sticking like that. I'm going to cut down a little bit of that excess, and I realize this piece is not big enough. Now, granted, when you make your circle, don't make it any bigger than the width of your tape. So just keep that in mind. So I start to stick another layer of tape here on top, and I realized, you know what? This would be the perfect opportunity to encase something else in there. And look, I'm kind of like sealing it all, and I was like, no, I want to put something else in there. So I'm going to peel this up real quick, carefully, and I'm keeping in mind this is just tape. I can totally do this again. So I ran outside and found a little leaf that I thought would be really pretty for the phrase that I
that I made up that says, oh, what does it say? I made it up. I can't think of what it is. It says, to find beauty, go outside. And that's exactly what I did. I went outside and found this beautiful little leaf. And yeah, I'm going to stick it in there, encase it in there. Now, y'all, I don't know. That leaf may not stay green. It may turn brown over time. It's fine. This is just a fun little charm that I am making. So I'm basically rubbing down all of the tape around the inside, and then I will trim the excess from the outside, just using scissors, cutting around the outside of this circle that we've made with the wire. And I'm going to burnish it some more here in a minute. I'll use my bone folder. This required a lot of trimming. I didn't want too much excess on the outside of it, nothing that could be like grabbed and peeled up. Now, because this is good quality tape, it's going to take some work to actually peel it up. I had a time trying to open it back up to get my little leaf in there. So I'm going to mess with this little wall, make sure it's there. And yeah, take my bone folder there and just burnish it both sides with that to make sure it's nice and stuck beautifully. I'm going to go through this process again here in a minute so you can see. I do try it with some cheaper tape. We'll go through that in a second. All right, y'all, I'm still trimming this. I think this is a fun little tag. You could put anything in there. You wouldn't have to do the tape removal technique with your phrase. You could put something on the back of it. You could just put a leaf on the inside of this. You could put the image of a butterfly or whatever you want. But I'm taking, these are just regular hole punches. It's a regular hole punch, punched a hole in it. And from there, you could put a piece of string or anything. I've got some of these bulb safety pins that are gold that I thought would match perfectly with my wire. And so I'm going to slip that in there just like that to hang my little charm. All right, like I said, this was super easy, so I'm going to go through it again. I wanted to try it with some other things, with my different colors, with that cheaper tape, and here you see I'm doing it with my Oohoo glue stick again because it's hard. And yeah, make sure you can slip that off. So I've got some heavy pliers. I'm trimming that excess off, making sure the ends match up. Then I will grab my hard surface and my hammer and hammer down the edges. This one, I will admit, I did not hammer it as well to get those round surfaces off, so that probably didn't help things with this one. But I'm going to use cheaper tape, and it's a real issue with this one. So I want to show you the importance of kind of using a good quality tape, not to try to sell you on it, but I just think it's important to keep that in mind. All right, so this time I'm using something I just copied on my copy maker, and I am using the good tape here to get my image. And your image could be anything. It could be if you wanted a bumblebee or something on there, but I decided to go with just a little phrase. Peeled that up. This time I got more of the paper peeled up, and I'm going to use some peacock feathers Distress Oxide on it, wet it, stick that in there so it kind of colors the paper. Now, I could have colored the paper beforehand, but I felt like putting the color on the back of the paper wouldn't make the image obscured. Does that make sense? Like if you put it on the front of it, then maybe you would cover up your image or your word, whereas if you put it on the back, it's just sharing it. So here's me getting this cheaper tape. This is, I believe, from the Dollar Tree. Y'all, I love my Dollar Tree. And I'm, again, I'm doing it a little bit differently. Seeing this is just peeling right up. So I've put my tape on one side of that. I'm cutting out my image or my word. I'm being a little sloppy and rushed with this one because this was definitely a second experiment. And I had already done this project once before in my other experimentation. And now I'm covering the top of it with another layer of tape. And of course, it's sticking to everything I don't want it to stick to, like a non-stick sheet. How crazy. I was rushing with this one, and I'm burnishing everything down, trying to make sure the tape's sticking to the tape, to the wire, to my little image. yeah, lots of burnishing. And then I will grab my scissors and start cutting this down. Again, cutting off a little bit of the excess and then just going around it. This tape is way thinner than that packing tape that Scotch brand packing tape. So it's, yeah, I'm going to have trouble with a lot of it. So I definitely recommend getting a good quality tape. When I punch the hole here in a minute, it doesn't punch it too well. I have to tear it. Yeah. And if you use one of those bulb safety pins or safety pin in general, you could just puncture your tape with it. Poke the hole with that rather than the large hole punched hole. But I like the movement you get with the larger hole. So this was something I encourage you to experiment with, play with. It's just kind of where these prompts took me. And I wanted to remind y'all that, you don't have to make a card. You don't have to make something big. You can make a little accent charm or something you can add into a gift or something along those lines. Think about putting maybe a pressed flower in here. This would work great as something even you could resin if you don't want to use the tape technique. So there are lots of options for this, but for a cute little simple accent for something, I thought this was perfect. I hope y'all enjoyed this project. I cannot believe we've only got one more card and project to go, y'all. I am baffled. How have we made it a whole year? I don't know. Don't forget there is a full playlist of all of the videos at the end of this. If you have any questions at all, please ask away. I really appreciate you spending this time with me. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will be back on Monday with card number 52. All right, guys, I will see y'all then. Bye.